Bishop, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm about to say
Can you pardon?
Covenant Sunday. Minimum tea for the machefo nyina ya krado.
Afitiefo ne ahwefo ye mamu nyina afihyiapa. Afi nko emetu ye mfie so Onyankopon adom adoso ewo yen so. Ene Covenant Sunday who I won't quite already. Maybe you don't know, but yene kwaso no yenim say it's a very special day. The first Sunday of the year. Yako watch night service. But this is the first Sunday yeba erade enim. Let me begin with Inshira Nyankopon kan say yemfa Inshira ne nkrofo. Then I'll focus on Sembia Efri Moba. Na erade kasa kire. This is Numbers chapter 6 verse 22. Na erade kasa kire Moses say kasa kire Aaron ne ne ma no ese said the Munshra Israel for no and country woman. Radi in show na on show so. Radintin and name show na on no more. Radiman and niso and show no ma was him dear. Now the last verse no na me person there ye twaso. Now on family din and to Israel for so. Na me dear meshra on family din and to Israel force. So today we're going to be discussing this particular instruction, and I said the Radican see I'm funny didn't to Israel force, and it is out of that and will be shown. So today I'm going to be talking about Daniel's covenant prayer for his country or for himself or whatever. Covenant prayer, and then a covenant Sunday. So we're going to be talking about covenant prayer. And what did God mean by saying that one family dini and two Israel force? Namidie Mishra. So that is going to be our discussion for this morning. You can't covenant here as see anything. Okay, that's the theme we have chosen for today. Lessons from Daniel's covenant prayer for his country. You can't covenant prayer. Now, as covenant no more no cry anything, and it's as simple as agreement. When will be a pam, ye know all over the place. One commonest place, pam from last year in Cheche Bramie and Crofonia comfortable with our rare pam. When people go through our rare pam. Na ye can say one more and since krata in say we na betiti and temo many people
Bishop, mame sima same Bishop microphone no faulty. I can't hear him properly. Okay. Mr. Ramon, Sami go off at your phone for moment just 1 minute, just a minute. Sami, whilst you can show something. Whilst you can play my second hymn, but you'll play my second hymn. The second hymn I gave you, Be Thou My Vision. These are the hymns we sing for covenant. Just play Be Thou My Vision whilst we work on Bishop's microphone. Tony Montana, Yamboga or UK, or sports, or the holiday kakra. When I draw my attention, me and pa me share not just also want it. Sound name my papa. Let's take the hymn and then Bishop will come back just a minute. Wait a moment, chair.
It's not that your radio sounds strange. You just found the station that plays what you like. And thanks for listening.
92.9. 92.9, a mountain of favorite songs. This is 92.9, the more music, more variety. 92.9, the...
covenant prayer for his country. Lessons from Daniel's covenant prayer for his country.
We'll be right back. Gotta pay some bills.
Obi na invite me say memra wedding. Na me bedroom here. The shaman for dressing. There's more room for improvement. Me say Messi afa me ho a me gina ha. Mr. Ultimate mo. Me nya kira wo say wo wura Ultimate Fashions mo. Refriginando, Kenneth Cole, Max Fendi, Perry Jacob, and member chefs papa bi. Italian shoes, slippers, sandals, khaki, material trousers, office wear. Enye na wo. Enye member nko a wo. Emma die wo. Emma nyoma ye sheko wedding, party, engagement. Brands from across the world. Ellen Trace, Adriana Papel, Jones, New York, Tehari, Casper. Any baby keka ho se mo hia mo ho sa na se mo da na di sa no a mo nda na di spectacularly said ye be ya enkrofo be hu se oh wodro no edi mu wedding gown kolanta de ni nyina wo Ultimate Fashion o mapon wedding no wo di tie comment e ba me ho.
I like your dressing.
Me da se
Abrantie, why you do?
oh thank you.
Hey, why for na bala ben?
Oh Debbie edum here. Kumasi Ultimate Fashions Prisons Runabout Accra opposite UTC. Ultimate Fashion. Beauty is our style.
Bishop, that's
okay. I wish for the difference here and it's Nyakopo kachre Moses so kachre Aaron so for and say senior winshira then crofo in this is Numbers chapter 6 verse 22 to 27. Then can come verse 27 the okai and say one fa me din into Israel for so na me de meshra so you be we didn't that will be so and as you will be to there is clearly an obligation, a reflection of who you are on that kind of on that person. Nti Yankopon eka asem wo yo kai mo du pa on family into Israel for so na me de meshra and that is implied covenant now ye kan wasem no Yankopon say mon kan kire nkrofo enu say omo ye media na me nso me ye omo dia and that is a hu omo anache say me nkrofo na ekro and it's very very important and we see in the Bible especially Old Testament some Yankopon nkrofo bi a omo gina Yankopon asem a waka we so ebo mpaye e ma Yankopon etri mpo a wo ma wo mo no. So we are saying that in this new year, ye won't pay ye more covenant prayer. Na ye nyina covenant no so. Na ye ntu anamon a ebe me Yankopon animo nyam adedi ewo ye so. So that's what we are going to be discussing this first Sunday of the year. I will first go through the major covenants in the Bible. Apamwa hurra Yankopon ene eye ya kan wasem wo Bible. The first one is the dominion mandate. Yankopon born in nyina no say na Genesis 1:26 to 28 e kan afa me bo nipa wo mesuban so na me de ma ye nyina ahye ne nsa. Monko na monko hye ne ma wo mu nyina so na monno na monwo na monno. So that is a covenant God made with human beings. Ohwe Bible mu a na uduru Genesis chapter 8 here. In fact, in one of my books I'm actually on Abraham was rich, and I've said that the fall did not change the dominion mandate. Enipa hwe ase na Yankopon ansesa dominion mandate say odi wi ase ahye nipa nsa no. And that is why we are still, in fact, in spite of your born in the area, the emphatic, you still see that you can't see a baby. Human beings have advanced, they have done all kinds of things because of this mandate here. Yankopon edemaye. Until Ushe Genesis chapter 8, God is virtually saying the same thing. Emre nipa ye bonia was say we are seeing nyina odin su yire say no owie no ka kire Noah say Noah I'm renewing the dominion mandate no or say in chapter 8 or kwa wie no Ewrade ete afode no hwam na waka na koma mu say onipa nti mennom asase bio ebi so nipa koma mu adwene ye bone efri ne mofra ase na me say deɛ ɛte aseɛ nyinaa bio sɛdeɛ mayɛ na asase wɔ hɔ yi nyinaa oguo ne otwa awɔ ne ahuhuro asusɔ ne ɔpɛ awia ne anadwo enyae da. You see, this is very important. Baby bebree wokɔ abrokyire no ne ade a nipa timi ayɛ nneɛma ahorow bebree no. They are now beginning to think that there is no God. That's what we call humanism and secularism. They don't need God. But it's simply because God told himself to say wodi nipa echira onipa ntimi nnome asase bio. So you see that the dominion mandate na or can was Genesis 1:26 to 28 now. Even though man fell, Genesis chapter 3, God did not take it away. And when he and say we are seeing Noah person, he said, so that is where the dominion mandate works. Into obia obeyiru bia no. Enyanyam sum kwa. So you go to certain countries and they don't even go to church. And yet, and they are developing because of the dominion mandate. But beyond the dominion mandate, because what have I done to myself? That is what Kesman Foundation is doing. Say Radish Ramea, why do I sit there and not also bless others so that they can begin to appreciate the Onyankopon aye amaye nyina. So the first one I'm talking to you about is the covenant apamo Onyankopon ni nipa ye, the dominion mandate. Matro me no suma has said the exercise of the dominion mandate by anyone will lead to advancement in life. So baby enkenka enu anama mo abrochire mu na terebia na bidum aye say ya ha ye kwasori ya but wo kwa abrochire no ohun so omo nkwa asori so he asked himself so no don be that dan kwa. No, it's simply because of the dominion mandate. So long as the dominion mandate is there and God did not take it away when man fell, you will be able to do what you tell yourself that you are capable of doing. The next covenant here, Nyankopon ye, any Abraham covenant here, on any Pamela. Because Abraham was also living somewhere, and then God called him. To quote Genesis chapter 12, tie niema a Nyankopon kae emra ofre Abraham no. Wodi afi asase so no abusua mu no wagya fie kwasase a mekyerew no so. Na meye wo man kese na mehyirawo na mama wudin aye kese na waye nhyira. Na mehyira wo ne a wo hyira wo na wo ne a wodome wo no medome wo. Na wo mu na obehyira asase so musua nyina. This is a great covenant. So look at the progression. The dominion mandate is for everybody. So long as you exercise these kinds of things, that is what science has accomplished. The laws are there, gravity is there. If you discover gravity, you'll be able to develop things. And then maybe the different models. Yeah, human beings are really doing very well. But beyond that, God called Abraham. This formed the basis of the first half of the Bible, the Old Testament. Into Old Testament, Abraham. And that is what I'm going to really concentrate on. Also, Moses and to Israel. The dominion mandate, Nyankopon esu ewo nipa mu, because he's a creator God and he has given us the ability to create. One of the things that I always preach about is the creative ability of God in man. That is the dominion mandate. Everybody has it. If you learn to exercise it, you'll be able to do certain things. But when you come to the Abrahamic covenant, God called this man. Here is a relationship. It's a relationship. Somebody can be the richest person, the greatest industrialist, and all that, and will have no regard, no relationship with God. But when you come to this particular covenant, Abraham a covenant of relationship. That is why Numbers chapter 6, all can say, Monfa midin and to sankrofwe so. Catch Aaron say, Monfa midin and to almost. So you go beyond the dominion mandate. Now you have a relationship with God. Abraham's descendants always made reference to this covenant, especially when they encountered challenges. And that's the thrust of the message for this morning. Say, Abraham asifo no de wɔn do wɔn ho to so no ɛno ne Daniel ne Jeremiah nom ne Nehemiah nom paye a wɔn bɔɔ yɛ a Nyankopɔn bowura wɔn asetena mu ma nneɛma ɛyɛ deɛ bɛn ɛsesae. That is what we are talking about on this covenant Sunday. That covenant which is beyond the dominion mandate, but it moves us into what? A personal relationship with God. Nyankopɔn say, yɛmfa ne dini to Abraham and then asefo eso. In fact, when you go to Genesis chapter 15, that is where we are told, say, Nyankopɔn Abraham ji Nyankopɔn di na obuwe se tenene ma no. Oka kyerɛ ne sɛ, mene Awurade a ɔde wo firi a ɛwɔ Kaldea no, sɛ mede asase bɛma sɛ agyapadeɛ. And then it goes on. So this is a significant development. The God who created the heavens and the earth, the universe, Hebrews chapter 11, now comes down to have a personal relationship with an individual and his descendants, Abraham. We go to the next slide and we go into another major covenant. And also Yakopon and then Nkrofwe, and that is the Mosaic covenant. I've written in the notes, it will come, while we hear television about, unlike the Abrahamic covenant, which was based on faith, the Mosaic covenant was essentially based on the law. And also a agreement in Yakopon Israel for Munim ransom iso. A ransom do sana popono so Mose call by or some ransom do muniso. As a mutimi di we so a better train amam send a Bible can. But how are we going to be able to succeed? When the Hebrew slaves were delivered from Egypt and got to Mount Sinai, God gave rules or commandments which they were to follow. This was a major disaster because the people always failed to obey the commandments or this covenant. Until Abu Sanfo, many of two and among said the bear over tea, Yankupon, a palm and ne a palm quesiadano, Nissania, Yame, a crony and auntie. Macan knows there were various pointers during the Jewish history to a more superior covenant which was going to come. And that was, for example, the Passover. Nature, I say, are making a difference between Mo and Egypt for no. Monfa moja no aboa moja no nye mo prano na metwemu a me betwemu a me de be I will pass over you. So you see that covenant of relationship no. Mostly there no all kinds of things. And mramuni mrano so na Israel for a history nature say it was always a disaster. They were not able to obey the Mosaic covenant. And Timo be and trouble being kind and was say emransem do and I would this one and then I will be right with God. And you see young kwaso remember that and I see young say and I say nam we na ye and nam we ma ye and then all those kinds of things, No, that is not that which established the relationship with God, the Abrahamic covenant. Another one, I also buy. I will skip the Davidic covenant. I Yankopɔn can say, or establish a dynasty for David. Nana him one so and a Messiah and a Betna. We will not talk about that today. But another covenant number 4, I may come once a man or pay the covenant of grace through Jesus Christ. This is another universal covenant through Jesus Christ. One, Abrahamic covenant was only for the Israel for didn't to so that they will be different from other people on earth. If you are following my argument this morning, you see that the dominion mandate is for everybody. The Abrahamic covenant is a covenant of relationship between human beings and God, but it's restricted to Abraham and his descendants. He also gave them the Mosaic covenant, which is a covenant of law, a covenant of laws, work. You'll be righteous. But Abraham covenant, and it was not based on works. He's clearly arguing, say, Abraham covenant, this covenant is patterned after the Abrahamic covenant, which is the covenant of grace received through faith. Said when Yakupon do we are seen so then the bow won't chrono a mine or the origin diana when you're down qua. Or bow no any dim na only or any diana anyano. Nanso be our genie din on my theatre the barber no cano. So now sad relationship no now a year restricted to the Jews no. It is now what? Given to the whole world. Let me go and read John Asemwa or Kain in the John chapter 1 or Kafa Yesu or say Yesu ba onwa ni dim onipa bi wo ho Yakobon osma no ani din di ono na enye ono ne han no oba verse 11 John 1 oba onwa ni dim na woni oye onwa ni dia no anye no that is the Abrahamic covenant. Now do a woje no when I woje ni din di no Oma wo tumi se wonye Nyankopon ma. So you see, the covenant has moved another level. This time it is not restricted to the Jews alone. It's for everybody. Obia obeje die bia. Nyankopon se momfa me din to san krofo no so. But Yesu mu no, Nyankopon din e dan krofo so no is now extended to the whole world. Nyankopon ma. So we are talking about covenant Sunday. It's not just a sorrow which is very important, but it's an understanding. Say, me Safo-Kantanka me jina hey me Yankopon ba. Asi ya tujumbe me onyame ba me nyede be me mo hu that thing because Yankopon na desire say yemfa ni dini ento ne nkrofo so. Oko Galatians chapter 3 verse 14. Omaye nyanti asye se sa apamo a yenya wo Yesu Kristo mo etise Abraham apamo no. So you see that I have in my notes Galatians chapter 3 verse 14. He redeemed us in order that the blessing given to Abraham might come to the Gentiles through Christ Jesus. Enti upe inshra Onyankopon edi eshrawo go to Genesis chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12. Na obehunu niema Onyankopon eka kire Abraham. Abusafo Christosom the power and sema Onyankopon ye wo ho no is great. Genesis chapter 12. Osime de ben Mishra na wani a womo na wudi na mede meye won man kese na mehira wo na mama wudina ye kese na waye nhira na mehira woni a wo hira wo na woni a wodome wo no medome wo na wumu na obehira asase so musua nyina. So you see, when we are talking about God's covenant with you, he is partnering it along Abraham semo okaye no. Ala na menu mienu yemfa saa ne me natora bia na ye wesi a time saa ewo woni a wodome wo ho ena de ochiri me de woyɛ me say ye de and all those can when God has said if you tenidini da wo so a woni a wodome wo no obedome wo woni a wo hyira wo no obɛhyira wo. So this covenant here, when I'm Jesus Christ, and this Galatians chapter 3 verse 14. In fact, none of my mature in books. Abraham was rich, Isaac was rich, Jacob was rich. Why not you? Because I'm challenging you to say that. Say Nyankopon ni Abraham yes apam. Na wo hira no was anema mu a. Adan na me bi ni me mabaji Jesus Christ adie na me de sa Abraham hira na bi ma me so. That is the whole thrust of the message that I have been given for quite a long time now. Since I'm a bishop now, and some American don't know that is the basis of it. That he redeemed us in order that the blessing given to Abraham might come to the Gentiles. So I don't waste my time. I make a bompire, the uchrime, the otime, make a body or kakadrum paye or sro doma and all because Nyankopon didn't dameso. He told Abraham or catch Moses says uncle for Abraham as if we family didn't to almost na mishra. And Galatians Paul is telling us that Yesu Christo mu Onyankopon hira o de ma Abraham no abameso. It is a Nyankopon catch Abraham say Obama ni dini aye kesia. I can claim that. Obama na yenshira. I can claim that. And that is what Kesben Foundation is doing. Onyankopon nam na kuwa Kesben ni ekuo ni de wo ye nyina so ema na ye de be ema na yenshira. So your number be a wo can say oh was say ni kro ne ba no. He should not be he is not bothered because oni Nyankopon na ye de be ena nam Nyankopon dini na ye de be edane so. This is a universal covenant. Whosoever will may come. Like the Adamic and Noahic covenant. Inti abusuafo, and that covenant Sunday, no, a great celebration. Pa ye kai se, Onyankopon esi yemfa ni dini enye debe entry yeso na obishrai. Now let me go to the next phase of the message. How did the Jews invoke the Abrahamic covenant when they were in trouble? What a brofona say, Jew for no say, no woman no ade no say, ahochire bi ba, say na no omo fa Onyankopon asem o ka ye no say, yemfa ne debe, ni dinin to omo so no, omo din ebo omo bra. Very, very important concept in a Bible. Let's go to Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 1. Yes. Now Nehemiah tis any krum and yema enkoye any ade no. Ne yure ho ya ma ufrasie se obo empire. O se na metin semi no metena asemi suen mi dia bobo na bi na mi dia buada na me bo empire menim de wate afa ufie ukrom any situation awo mu na me bo empire osuru Nyankopon anim na me se oh awurade osuru Nyankopon kase a ne hu ohu atio wokura wapam ene adoye ema woni a wodowo ne wona wodi wo mmransem so Nyankopon a wo ye de be wokura wapam. So we are dealing with the covenant God. Okura na pam ma wasomra so na wani wamue na fatie wako ampaye a mebɔ no wanim na awia ne anadwe ama wo nko a Israelfo ne ka America Israelfo bɔne a yaye wo na me nso amin magafie aye bɔne he was not there but he didn't say Israelfo ne wo fie no omaye enema emfata ne ade na enema bebre ho a okae wo verse 8 a osise na kai asɛm a wode hyɛ wakoa Mose no sɛ mo a me nso mabɔ mo apeti amamu na sɛ mo san ba me nkyɛn a dem di so a ɛne sɛ wɔpam kɔ ɔsoro ano no ho a ɛhɔ na mefiri maboaboa mo ano de mo aba faako a mayi sɛ mɛma me din atena hɔ no na wɔn so wɔyɛ wo nkoa ɛne wo man a wodi wo tumi kɛseɛ ne wo nsa a ɛden agye wɔn. O Awurade ma wasomra wakwa mpaebɔ ne wo nkoa a wo din esuro ɛyɛ wɔn fɛ mpaebɔ so. Na ma no ensi wakoa yie ne. You can empire ya wo sometimes abusiafo we go to church and can empire na say na ye boy ensem a me ye de no ye me say ya yes friend said they're babbling. These are people who are praying to God. Tie mamen kan Nehemiah empire no brofo mo say they are your servants and your people, whom you redeem by your great strength and your mighty hand. And to say yes, I jemen kwa, edini moja jemen kwa. Why na me nsuro no bio? Why should I waste my time thinking, say, obayfo bi o mi fie, me maame, mabusua, at that kind of thinking away and crow for 3 months. And you hear a lot of our people on television, whatever, just creating that kind of impression. Well, 1 year Yakupo did not to almost so. Derby. Let's go to King Jehoshaphat. On also empire our boy. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 5. Netie on also emra okon ene chapter 20 verse 5. Na Yudafo boabon ano se wo behwehwe Awurade hommoa. Na Yuda nkro nyina mu na ofiri ba behwehwe Awurade. Na Jehoshaphat esori gyina Yuda ne Jerusalem badwa no mu Awurade fia banwa foforo no anim. Na o ka setio Awurade ye gyanom Nyankopɔn. Enya wo ne Onyankopɔn wo soro. Na wo na wudi amama ahenie nyina so. Na wo nsɛm na tumi ni maniyɛ wo. Na obie ni hɔ a obetimi agyina w'anim. Enya wo ne yɛ agya. Enya wo ne yɛ Nyankopɔn a wotu asase sufo efiri ɔman Israel nim. Na wo de ma wadamfo wodɔfo Abraham asefo sɛ wɔn tena so. Very, very interesting. This is someone who is praying and is challenging God because minu mi ni yaya apam. Enti de one can say Nyankopɔn wo si emfa yedini wudini ntu yeso nti anim gu ase ahwanim na agu ase wo Nyankopɔn anim agu ase. And that attitude I say yeah minu mi lacking in our Christian life and the kind of Christianity an empire yankro for but tie de Jehoshaphat ka anya wo ne ye Nyankopɔn a wutu asase so for efiri ɔman Israel nim na wo de ma wo dɔfo Abraham asefo so won transfer oh ma men kan Prof na tie oh Lord God of our fathers, are you not the God who is in heaven? You rule over the kingdoms of the nations. Power and might are in your hand, and no one can withstand you. Let's move on. Did you not drive out the inhabitants of this land? Move on. And give it forever to the descendants of Abraham, your friend. Abraham, your friend. This is not the first time Abraham is referred to. So that's why I'm saying that the Abrahamic covenant is different from the dominion mandate. It is obroni timi ya lupre etimi ya tuo ni kro ne banyina na won suro Nyankopɔn no se ne nyansa na aye ne saa ne ade na wo kɔ na hunu niema akoso abrochire nyan se oh omokra omo e de nyamsom na bedada. You are wrong. You are wrong. We are talking about a relational God. Nyankopɔn a wonne ofe nipa. Abraham no say Abraham yem de ben eye madamfo nti Abraham asefo nso eye de ben eye media almost yem namfo, and they are referring this thing to him. Israel for na ebompa ya ka che Nyankopɔn say Abraham your adamfo yen say Abraham asefo. There's going to be a time where obi in fact David kureye bi David no ne ahan Jonathan wa apam omo ye namfo apam. Enti emra Jonathan wu ye na Saul wu ye na David be ye ohen o se hwan na wo Jonathan busua mu mon konkofa no mra na menye de be monye na doye enye Jonathan aba no na ye oyo ba bi a wɔne hwan wɔne Jonathan ayɛ nti ɔbɛyɛ Jonathan ba wɔda so te aseɛ na adɔ ɔkɔfa Mephibosheth ɛde ne ba ne table ho bɛtena te sɛ ne ba ɛne ne hyɛ biribiara. That is the relationship that we are talking about. Nti abusuafoɔ sɛ wonsum nyame a na wonhunu saa nneɛma yɛ ɛka wote asase so bi deɛ but you lack something because onyame ɔbɔɔ so ne asase no he relates to us through covenant here on Abraham. And so Abraham had died long ago. Now Jehoshaphat is facing a challenge in life and he talks to God and says, Abraham is your friend and we are descendants of Abraham. So who can say obeshira Abraham no yen su shira yen because ye Abraham asefo. Enti si anya ne saa. Enti na Bible emse sa wa say ma yakwada na manyini na mehunu wotre ni a ne ma de be esresrade. People who have this relationship with this God, they may die and go, but the one actually anya de be ensay. Until the Bible can say, or training in will judge a padiaman and mama, and nananom, then a tree, I kama. And yet, one of them, men who come me books no back one. I'm comparing Jonathan Edwards and Max Jukes. Max Jukes in Nima Urade, Nechri Poto, and Jonathan Edwards in Shra, Yankopong Edishrano. I don't know whether you will not love to be part of this great covenant. Now let's go to Maka Nehemiah and Maka Jehoshaphat. Let's go to Daniel. Now you hear Daniel so empire or boy a covenant prayer. And then we share any daso any ahotoso. I think I like the better ahotoso assurance omuwo e wo sa Nyankopon emu. Daniel chapter 9. Ediana Daniel so eka ekyereye wo ho. O say Daniel's prayer is based on his study of the Bible. I think that is a very, very important point. Ahasuerus Baderio Nasifri media odi kadiafo ahima so hene no afie dikai obedi hene mu no na me Daniel me dwendwen awurade asɛm a ɛba odifo Yeremia so sɛ obɛma mfirinhyia aduoson awie duru Jerusalem amanfo so no ho na me di mani to awurade Nyankopɔn so sɛ me di muada. Now let's focus on the first verse 2 no. In the first year of his reign, I Daniel understood from the scriptures. Know the scriptures. A Christopher Yankan Barbro. And therefore, Omoko Jina Bompa Yebia and Ninyankopan Sambia number Bia. Say Christo Nibia Bompa Ye said dear, back to sender. And yet it's not biblical. It's not biblical. People will go and search a year say, yes, Christ said, my master may babe kumun crofo. And yet you get Christopher no Bompa Ye said, dear. Yeah, I'm penny for now, and a call a cogun sound, I can't some say. Will be in question in Shani Bush for. Until they won't pay me here, dear. They can't come also a monoso. And you get a kind of similar, they are not using the same word, but they are saying the same thing. Even while sorry them. Bible, Daniel say, or King Barbro. Now, who scriptures must say, on Yankopon Jeremiah so I shall come say. No mufano bedi 70 years. After 70 years, Obama and Crawford, but then he said, hey, then let me go back to this God and remind him because I know what covenant. And he said, Obama, he was not in Jerusalem. He was part of those who had gone into exile. Then let me talk to this God. That 70 years now, okay, Jeremiah and Anam okay. I am going to call you God. Now you are going to now look at and someone then you and the way on Yankopon kasa. And he was say, so I turned to the Lord God and pleaded with him in prayer and petition, in fasting and in sackcloth and ashes. Yankopon, Abraham Yankopon. Abraham, it's good to say Abraham Yankopon, but I'm beginning to wonder. Some people are or team ministry near the idea and then it didn't that. So one in Yankopon, one near the idea. It's not right. Abraham Yankopon. So he begins to pray. And matro me no sumuha. We share slide now. The last part now. The lesson we are learning here is that prayer must be based on knowledge. Prayer must be based on knowledge. Daniel asema wokan ewo hen. Wokọ Jeremiah etire aduenu enumu a Onyankopɔn nam Jeremiah so ehye nkom ena oka kire nam Jeremiah so say enkrofo ya a wɔmokɔ Ezra wɔmo ho kire wɔ mu. Let me read Jeremiah 25:11 to 14 quickly. Or say na asase nyina bedane amanfo ene ahodwuridie na mama yi asom baba hene mfrinhye aduoson na se mfrinhye aduoson wie dura meba ma betua baba hene ne oman no kadiafo asase so mumuye soka na madane no da amanfo na mema me nsem a meka me gu asase so no nyina abamu wɔ ne ho. Go again to Jeremiah 29. And what is the Bible saying? Jeremiah 29. Yenya daje nkan a free verse 4, but you can write it down and read on your own. When you go to verse 10, I say, na radis said the radis ye. Infrinchie diosunye duru wo babela. Meba ma behwemo. Na mama masem pano abamu amamo. Se me de mo besane abahai. Na me de mi ne adwen kura me dwene mo ho. Awurade asem ni asumdua adwene na nya bone de se me mamo awie pa ene anidaso. Hi. And who is going to pray? So Daniel going to pray, reads his Bible, finds this letter, Radima Jeremiah Troy, and he said, let's just quote this back to God. When was the last time that is our problem. Yempa Bible can those of us who can even read. Ena ye kwa so no so asofo no bi wo ho a asema mo ka dodo no a enyina Bible so no atoa ni ade. Some of them are even teaching ye nananom ne ayadwene no anom ye no anom de ewura so them. So the prayer that they will lead you to pray no enyina virtually said the American it is any obi gu nsa na wo ka say they won't pay me here there ne konkomo so omo no so no tane bi na ade awura so dem na wo boss empire no. But when Daniel was praying, he read the scriptures, and when he read the scriptures he saw that Nyankopon asem si eni, and then he went on and Daniel's prayer is like that of Nehemiah. The burden, the confession, and the fasting. We won't dwell on that. But no cre. So at the end, we jina Nyankopon asem se na wo bompa ye na wo chine kom ne ade ebem. Tie some of the key words are Daniel so you see. Was it the great and awesome God who keeps his covenant of love? God keeps his covenant of love. Verse 17 to 19. I want to hear me then. Or say, for your sake, O Lord, look with favor on your desolate sanctuary. For your sake, O my God, do not delay, because your city and your people bear your name. You see, we are going back to Numbers chapter 6. Monfami didn't turn crofon so, and Daniel is praying so many years later. Or can you actually say 17? Daniel chapter 9 verse 17 was he saying? Oh, Awurade, senior would let me go to 17. Na afe ye Nyankopon, tie wakwa mpa bone ne nkotosre. Na ma wani mu nhyiren ewo okronkron bia a ayamanfon no so. Wo Awurade nti. Me Nyankopon bra waso asitie. Bie wani na hwe ya amanfon ani kura wabo dini. Wabo wudin wo so no. Na nye ye tenene so ene ye de ye nkotosre eba wani mu. Yes. Na emom wo mobro hu bebrebe ntira. O Awurade tie, o Awurade fache, o Awurade ya so e. Entwentwa wo na ase, wo me Nyankopon ani, wo din ana wo bo efra wo kuroi ene wo man. Ni ko kusafo manim gu ase Nyankopon ani magu ase. Because me gidi se minim sa Nyankopon no aye madom abie mani ama hunu Kristo. Enti sa na tie de a me sena dom na matimi anante se ne ose menye ba minim se o ma manim same em say Canticle 2 the last verse Awurade wo mu na me de me wira ahye a mama nim in wase. That is what these people are saying. Eradi mama nim wase. Because we didn't damn so. What can say we didn't to so, and Daniel is making a reference to that. That is what Jeremiah also prayed. Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 21 to 22 say, for the sake of your name, do not dishonor your glorious throne. Hey, do not dishonor your glorious throne. Remember your covenant with us and do not break it. This is Covenant Sunday. And to akwa otumfo na waka chance otumfo wudini a eda ya esu ntino. Enyema ye fam a emwa ne ade ne begina mae. Because we didn't die so. That is what they are praying. That is what they are praying. Me hunu ne wuko social media me me asantini ni ade. Fine. So asante for we are saying nana wuna wudi asante mayenim. Me hunu binom so de me dwabini, and so they are also talking to Nana Srebo. And that kind of thing. This is what these people are saying to God. Wudini edaye so. Enti mayenim enye de be enwu ase. Say wonim Christo, you don't worry yourself. You just move on, trusting God. You attempt great things. And never kesia na wo ye, because one nya ne sa obi kura ehunu se wo sa Nyankopon no na me debia me bompa am se na obi bisa wo se munkunim de firi an aka se nya ne o eye Awurade na waye abusanfo na no pay covenant prayers de a ehu hia. Daniel de be okenka Bible ogina Bible asem so no ogina Bible asem so no bompa ye no okachire Nyankopon se wudini dan so madamfo ne Abraham what can say and we didn't 2 years so tianim gu ase a wonim agu ase wonim gu ase a yenim agu ase abusafo Yesu ebo ye kokko Matthew chapter 6 obo ye kokko o se empire a ye bo no enye o se muhia mammo empire enye dede ne ade sa ti se Matthew chapter 6 verse 5 na se mo bo empire Munya se nyaatwomfo no na wo pese ogina hyiadan mu na ene montene ntweaso eso 65 ya no kura mesemo se wanya wo akatua da wo de wo bompa ya hyen wo piam ato uprum na bo wagya wo kokoam mpa ya na wagya ohunu kokoam no ebetua wo ka ewo edwaso. There's too much going on. For example, I don't think we have time to discuss 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 13 to 20. Paul discusses praying intelligently in church. Praying intelligently. And are fashionable? Oh, you phrase yes, you can't not done it tongues. You to your man, not done it tongues. And Paul says, I want to be able to say a few intelligent words. Rather than say me baby jina saw them, na me so me demonstrate say, hey, I can speak in tongues, I can do this, I can do that, and so on and so forth. Abusafo yama and yam some na just a mere display. Rather than sitting down, going through the Bible, seeing the Nyankopon account or issue no, na ye can say Nyankopon back to Nyankopon say, Erade wo na aka say enti yama ye. Ye di ba wie tie Daniel experience very, very interesting. Daniel chapter 9 no I can one say. Matro my next slide and also say angels get to work as a result of Daniel's covenant prayer. Angels get to work as a result of Daniel's covenant prayer. Let's go to verse 20, Daniel chapter 9. Na me daso me kasa na me bompaye na me ka me bone ne me man Israel bone na me de me nkoto se me to Awurade me Nyankopon ne mama me Nyankopon be pokronkron na me daso me kasa ne mpaabo mu no obofo Gabriel a me hunu no aniso ade mu akane no etu ntentem be ka me enwumre aforebobre na okyerɛkyerɛ me no ne me kasa se Daniel afi me fria ba se me be ma wa hunu wanya hunu mu wonkoto se mfiti ase mu no asem free by na maba arebe ka kyerɛw efiri se wodɔw se entity asem no ase na hunu ade hunu no mu. When you pray covenant prayer, who begins to move? Angels. Empire ya born bebre ya noise ya na ya ka o se na Yesu ka was Matthew 6:5. So angels are not what? Moving and breaking FOS. Nan for the angels Gabriel I smart no say. In fact, what kind Ephesians Daniel chapter 6-12 are there. It's all his interaction with and the I want to ask here and then ya asma Gabriel say onko chire na kwa Daniel. Let me read what I've put down in my notes here. What is the lesson? When one invokes the sacred oath of an account king, the courtiers in him immediately get involved. So woko ka wo hini bi ntamo a ade na esie nkwenkwa ayede be achiw dedua. A very good example ena Daniel kire yin Daniel ne Nyankopon akasa wakana nsam akire Nyankopon wosie ya Abraham asefo wosie mfa wudin nto ye so hwe yen krofo akogu ewo enkoafie mu ebre wonam Jeremiah so ka se 70 years so abama o mo asan ya ba Nyankopon sa asem wo yi a waka to ho na ne nkrofo aka no me ka kire o se time aso emre no aso enti ye den ahenkwa monko na kwa na abo me dini na o challenge me woni e ma amaka dada no no monko chi ne dedua na monfa mra hemfie na nasem we da no so ntira wo bo me dini wo ho no enti abusafo is clear for us account for the clear so wo kokogina baabi koka wotumfo e de be entam kese a na se ya nchu dedua amfo ama entam it doesn't mean anything. But wo ka wotumfo entam kese na wo hene kese bia na wo hene bia entam immediately ehinkwa wo ho ne be de be e ba chu dedua. What does it mean see achu dedua? The dua no acha no nkire say simply say kokotwe dwan no ne ade ne kro ne boy ye bebo ka ne all those things. The important thing is that you have called the king to be involved in your problem, and therefore let's take you to the king and explain what your problem is to the king. That is all the dua actually means. You have invoked the great oath of the king, and therefore we are taking you to the king. What caused you to tell the king to get involved in your problem? Come and explain. And when you explain to the king has the power to solve the problem that you have. That is what Daniel is experiencing here. He is praying a covenant prayer. He is invoking God's great oath, which he told to Abraham, and saying that, hey, you said that we might put your name on these people. We are in problem. We are in trouble. And you, through your prophet Jeremiah, gave this prophecy. So from Daniel chapter 9-12, Daniel is discussing with Gabriel. We see a basic saying, we see basic saying. Na saadian unim said Daniel no be a radi yichre no yichre or hin Nebuchadnezzar, you are the a king of gold, a chest of silver and all that. So he's telling him history and what is going to come. Why did that happen? Because he invoked the covenant that God has with his people. It implies that you have invited the king. I'm saying my church mudada. Abu Safo, but my memo was which is happening all over the place. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14. Or say, are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who inherit salvation? And then they come and say, but wokobo obonsam asemwa wubo obi dia. You know what you have done? You have involved obonsam into the demons no beko. Ni akwa akoye de wo kan. Enti mpaya ye bo back to send an ekronebano and nyame na wo involve no. You are involving Satan. And immediately you mention Satan in that kind of prayer, the demons will go. And then you think that maybe you bomb paye no so for no nampa a boss empire and a wana and the NC and I say no. And Yankupon ye sa near manano. you have involved, you have quoted Satan. This is the way our yen and Yama. Satan won't fabon in check. Satan, we are dear obetia or soka. And yet that covenant of love no yes to the buy. And immediately you say that, the demons will come. Eba bechi nipa krondi de dia na ye kuno. Enti abusafo awrade adoma or the adom ye me conclusion is say you have made your new year resolution. What was it based on? Nehemiah, Daniel, King Jehoshaphat, and all they had burdens. And the problem called for divine intervention. They prayed the covenant prayer to get God involved, and the king responded. They prayed covenant prayer. Meaning what your problem is. Minimum a few way now no watch night the oko country Yankopon. Or you went there waiting for a prophet to give a prophecy on your head or something. But when I'm there, who problem be as a solve. One more chain where already in him. No one pay and so only Jina Yankopon Samson. No more catch a Yankopon say, Yaw now say. And Yaw now will cast the emperor within 3 Abraham and Croft also. Yeah, Abraham, I you are down for a year and I say for. And as I name away into Yame Bremo. Enti wo se wo ye obi a woni awurade na nam a ebi nso ana woni awurade ne America nyina you are not part of God's covenant asoro wo nko woni Nyankopon enye bibia ye Jacob oni Nyankopon nante he made ne papa no covenant his own at Bethel Nyankopon bo wura ne fie mu be hira no Mr. Awurade se sa 2026 Oma wonsi sanwo attitude towards enyamsom. Nema bebre wo ho aye ne sa ne ade but Daniel is teaching us. Let the scriptures be our guide. En mie ye ni maye nhunu de Awurade aka wona asem. Na yenyina so ne yemfa mompaye. Yentu anamo yen solve problems because Onyankopon ka ye ho. Because wutimi ya ade kese a na wo hene no onya ni mo onyam. Onyankopon ma solve problems a and ma wo hini nya ni monyam so because awurade nhira wa is simply because nyame nam wo so aye de amono aye nhira ti ne ye ka se Kesbe Foundation awurade nkoso no nhira na wo nhira no ma na ko ani kuyi a waye emma unsolve so my problem mo a na ma dom so ma mu nya se nhira ne ade ne nyina so o ma mo sumfri mo tibia mo so that you can also help to serve to help other people solve problems. But you are outside of this covenant. When Abraham asini, but Bible say ofreye, send ye beya Abraham de be enshira no. Ebeba amama mu force wo Yesu Christo mo. See how the Jews were using that Abrahamic covenant no. Send ye beya e de be Nyankopon be intervene in their circumstances. Me bompa ye say ene manenye da foforo ma manenye da woni Kristo wo ka se Awurade I have been walking along this life on my own but I want to be part of that personal covenant I want Abraham na Israel for go to back to you